यहाँ पर वज़ीर ख़ज़ाना बिलावल भुट्टो खिताब कर रहे हैं।
It is time that we join together to restore peace in Yemen, Syria, Iraq and Libya. To this end, the OIC must strengthen its security mechanisms to promote solutions through dialogue and negotiations to all inter-Islamic conflicts and disputes. I hope the conference will agree to continue consideration on Pakistan's proposal to strengthen the OIC security architecture. Excellencies, dear brothers and sisters, if we are to be the masters of our own destiny, the Islamic world and each of our nations must achieve genuine economic independence and sovereignty. The economies of most of our members have been devastated by the COVID pandemic, global inflation, climate impacts, and proliferating conflicts. They face a triple crisis in food, fuel, and finance. Pakistan has been hit by a perfect storm. After the impacts of COVID, inflation, and economic collapse in Afghanistan, the consequences of the Ukraine war, my country was devastated by biblical floods last summer. We are grateful for the generous support for emergency relief and for our comprehensive reconstruction plan from brotherly countries and Islamic institutions. However, Pakistan's economic and financial recovery has been eroded by the difficult and interminable negotiations with the IMF. As stated by the UN Secretary General, the international financial architecture is morally bankrupt. The OIC and developing countries must develop a clear strategy to secure equity and equal treatment in the rules and structures of international finance, trade and taxation. We must establish a special task force of experts to develop such a strategy. We must demand speedy debt restructuring for 60 financially distressed countries, the fulfillment of official development assistance commitments, and the redistribution of unutilized SDRs to developing countries, enlarged lending by multilateral development banks, massive public-private investment in sustainable infrastructure, and the mobilization of the promised climate finance of $100 billion annually. Finally, the OIC countries must prepare themselves for the future. We should instill sustainability and modern physical infrastructure, acquire advanced knowledge and digital capabilities, and the capacity to compete and prosper in the digital global economy and of the future. To this end, Pakistan initiated the agreement for collaboration between the OIC and the Digital Cooperation Organization. I propose that the OIC create a committee for the future which can chart a clear long-term strategy for sustainable growth and development of OIC member states. Excellencies, dear brothers and sisters, Islamophobia is an old phenomenon. Since 9/11, Muslims have been frequently associated with terrorism. Islamophobia has now become endemic in several countries and societies. Our faith, which denotes peace and tolerance, our sacred books and even the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, have been defamed with impunity, utilizing the excuse of so-called freedom of expression. In a number of Western and other countries, Muslims face systemic discrimination and violence. The worst manifestation of Islamophobia is official-sponsored supremacist ideology, Hindutva ideology. 200 million Muslims in India are in grave peril, facing cow vigilantes, lynch mobs, and calls for forceful conversion or expulsion. The organization Genocide Watch has warned of the possibility of genocide. Dear brothers and sisters, the adoption of the General Assembly's resolution on Islamophobia last year as an initiative of the OIC was a significant achievement. Pakistan, as OIC chair, together with the President of the UN General Assembly, in a historic first, convened a session in the UN General Assembly to commemorate the Day to Combat Islamophobia. We are grateful to the UN Secretary General and the Secretary General of the OIC for participating in this commemoration, and I trust that this commemoration of the Day to Combat Islamophobia will now become an annual feature at the United Nations. I have urged the UN Secretary General to formulate an action plan to halt and reverse Islamophobia. Such a plan should include the appointment of a UN Special Envoy, international measures for the protection of Islam.
वज़ीर ख़ज़ाना बिलावल भुट्टो ज़रदारी OIC इजलास से खिताब कर रहे हैं। उनकी